I do.
Okay, we are live. We are live. Hello,
Oh,
everybody. Hello. For those of you who are new, I'm David Shakavage,
And I'm
president
Sam
of Carolina
Chicago.
Retirement Planners, and this is my
Sam
daughter,
Chickavage.
Sam Shakavage. And how many weeks now have we done this happy half hour?
Ooh, I don't know. I've been gone for the last 2 weeks. It's been
this is week
what?
60, 6060.
60 for the last 60 weeks. Every Thursday at 4:30 we have come to you here live on Facebook and hopefully dispense some humor and wisdom and things like that. And we started back when early days of COVID, when we were all really trapped, and I knew people were kind of looking for something, so we came up with this, and it's been going strong, and we've people have been coming and enjoying it. So we're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep doing it. Uh,
Absolutely.
why don't you introduce Amy, Sam, so they know that who's
Yeah,
behind the scenes?
absolutely. And with us always, as always, the woman behind the curtain who makes all of this come together is Amy, our director of client fun.
Hello, hello, hello.
And it's like we are doing this in Zoom and then feeding it into Facebook and then recording it for YouTube and
Magical.
all the
Such
magic
magic.
of today's social media. Today's
All right,
social
goodbye,
media.
goodbye, goodbye.
And I see that Kay is here. She says hi to everybody,
Hey,
and
Kay.
and so does Kim. So it's good to see you. If you're here, say hi in the chat. We can't see who's here, but if you type it into the chat, we'll be able to know you're here and pass it on and
Mhm.
pass it on.
And hi to Bruce and Bill. And that actually brings us, Bruce brings us to one of our favorite things to do each week. And that is bring up what, national day it is. I guess every day of the year is some kind of national day. And today is a day that is near and dear to, I think, everybody at Carolina Retirement Planners, all of our hearts, National Dog Day. Or International Dog Day. Is it international or national? I don't know. All around the world, everybody loves dogs. We don't deserve them.
National Dog Day.
We don't deserve them. I love my little. I've got a little dog, Jessie. Amy has two amazing French bulldogs. My dad has Dogma, a fierce
He's
peekapoo.
a fierce peekapoo, more peek than poo, but
If he's real sweet to us, but if you meet him out, he's kind of like the angriest little marshmallow cloud that you'll meet.
Well, it's only when he's close to the house. If we're walking him, especially at night, he's very territorial. If I take him downtown, he's just lovable. In fact, I'll walk him downtown. He's just so cute. Girls will come up and they'll say, "Oh, how cute." And I'll say, "Well, thank you, but say something nice about my dog." He gets jealous. I get so much mileage out of that one, I'll tell you.
He legitimately does say that. I've a lot. I've heard
Can't help it. It's just too good to pass up.
So we
Oh,
hope
who else do we have here? Miranda, our top fan, is here, and Brad is here,
Brad.
and Joey. Good to see you. Martha is here, and Melanie and James.
And my mom is here.
Yes. And Debbie and Lynn and hey Grace, thank you for joining us. And Kristen. So welcome, y'all. And I hope that everybody here at home that has a four-legged feline friend is getting to spend a little extra time snuggling with them today too.
Yeah.
And Bruce, he asked if Amy has colored her hair, and we did have a long conversation about that today.
It went a little crazy, little more than normal, little nuts, but yes. Yes. Thank you for noticing. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Bruce, you're very perceptive. Typically, men do not notice things like that.
Yeah, you know,
Right? I'm really impressed. Yeah.
Got a little extra.
pretty sure if I dyed my hair purple, nobody noticed.
Oh, remember sometime last year you had shaved off your mustache and nobody noticed. None of us, even mom didn't notice,
That's
right?
right. I always was joking. I like to think that, she noticed. I like to think that if one night she grew a mustache, woke up with a mustache, I noticed. But I don't know. But so it was a good decision shaving it off because apparently it was superfluous. Superfluous. Well, what's our topic today, Sam? What are we gonna? We always like to talk about something educational, serious, or something. And last week I kind of went on a rant and rave about what was I ranting about?
I don't know. I wasn't here last week.
Last
You,
week.
you guys forgot to say cheers and ask what people are drinking. We haven't even done that yet.
Oh yeah. Oop, I'm in.
Well, I am drinking iced tea. I have I learned it's better not to drink anything hard while I'm doing this. I still have quite an evening ahead. So
I'm drinking a real interesting kind of wine. It's called, if anyone's ever heard of it, it's called Pet Not, which is a style of wine. It's kind of like a really natural, really old style of kind of like before they made champagne. It was Pet Not. It's like kind of bubbly, but it's champagne, the wine undergoes to a secondary fermentation in the bottle, and to make a Pet Not, they just throw the juice in there and it undergoes the fermentation all in the bottle the first time. So it's a very natural kind of wild kind of wine making, and I'm drinking one from Portugal. So
okay.
It sounds very fancy.
it is. It feels fancy. It feels very hipster. What are you drinking, Amy?
So I'm drinking I don't really like it, but I'm gonna drink it. I won't finish it, I promise. It's a Radler. It's a Boulevard cherry lime Radler. I haven't even really sipped on it. If you can tell, it's all frosty and
You were drinking moonshine last week. That's right.
I was not. I was drinking water.
I was talking about national debt, and you were drinking moonshine. No, it was
wow.
it was water with alcohol in it. That's what it was.
No, that was Kristen. That was not me. I did have a light beer, I think.
Oh, it was Kristen. That's
yeah, it was Kristen. I was like, I was not drinking moonshine. What? Wait a second. Rumors get started that way.
Okay.
All right. Well, today we're covering the topic, and we do talk about this in our classes, and we've covered this some more in live events, but we realize that we have not covered this in any of our happy half hours. And that is, one of the, very basic estate planning topics of, what's the difference between a will and a trust? Oftentimes you hear, you should get a trust, you should get a will, but how do you evaluate what each one is and what might be right for you? Though we do want to preface this by saying we are not attorneys, and the bar, they hate it when we give legal advice. So please, before you make any moves, speak to an actual licensed attorney. we are not lawyers. So we are giving this to you through the scope of financial professionals, not somebody who has a law degree.
They hate the bar association hates it when somebody like us practices law, and there's a million nuances, but I still want to I want to give us some of our perspective or biases or lessons we've learned. This marks the 20th year that I moved from engineering into retirement planning. And I got some war story. Well, I could do 2 hours of war stories, especially with lawyers and and all, but uh, you know, but we can at least give our perspective. But we always want to say, can't construe this as legal advice. We're not attorneys. Just want to make real sure, you know. Okay, that's what we can say there. And we all have estates. Usually when we think of estates, we think of our house and our bank account and all. But there's other things too. There's your furniture, your jewelry, all that stuff you've acquired. There's even your online presence. Think about it now. Now, who gets your Facebook, all the pictures you stored online, all this other stuff? So estates are getting even more interesting and more complicated. And estate planning is basically, how do I take what I don't manage to spend and pass it to the kids and grandkids and those I love, or charities, or whoever I want to leave money to? And there's really kind of four options when it comes to estate planning. There's four main options that you can do. And I want to go into them in some detail and then really explain and drill down on wills and trust in my engineer's view of what the difference is. One option, and I'll tell you, there's a whole lot of people, many, hopefully not too many, sitting on this call, but a lot of people have no will or no trust. They just say, I don't have one. And they're going to die what's called intestate, which is a Latin word for, put things off. I don't know, but it's but what you don't know is that there is if you die without a will, there's a will for you down at the courthouse in in Wilmington or Bolivia, and it says if you didn't have a will, here's who's going to get the stuff when you're gone. And it often behaves differently than you think. For instance, if a gentleman dies, he probably wants the stuff that he owns to go to his wife. But the will at the courthouse says something like, well, if he's got one child, 1/3 will go to the child, 2/3 to his wife. If he's got more than one child, half will go to the children, half to his wife. Not exactly what you want. So be careful. You don't want to go here. Also, especially when you see some of my probate data coming up, you'll understand why you don't want to go here. But this is the first option. Second option is, well, you can get a will. And a will's great because at least now you've said where you want your stuff to go. The trouble is, a will is a list of instructions to the probate court. Now, I've heard people come in the office and they've said, well, David, my attorney told me I don't have to worry about probate because I have a will. But in fact, a will puts you into probate. With a will, you are choosing probate as the way to settle your estate. We'll talk about that in a little more detail, but will is literally instructions kind of for the probate court what to do with your stuff when you're gone. Some people say, well, I'll just put everything jointly with my spouse. So all the accounts will be in both our names. But, you and your spouse probably get in a car together or a plane together. And, if you should both die, we're back to number one, no will or trust, right? So, and lastly, one of the more interesting one, it says, well, I'm going to put my assets jointly with my daughter. I got a daughter and I'm going to put my house half in her name, and I'll put my bank accounts. So something happens to me, she now has the assets. Well, does your daughter maybe live here in Wilmington and drives in Wilmington and, going down Market Street one rainy Friday afternoon, she rear ends somebody, what's that person going to do? Well, they may decide to sue her. I always like to joke, how far do you have to drive in Wilmington before you see a billboard with an attorney on it that says, injured? There's like a couple intersections where you can see 2 or 3 signs at once.
That's very true.
They are everywhere.
So that attorney looks up your daughter and says, "Wow, she owns half this house. She owns half this bank account." So they could put a lien on your assets against their creditors. So that's not a smart thing too. The other thing that'll bite you here is, see, if you've got a house or you've got stocks that aren't in an IRA, when you die, that house, if you bought the house for on the sound on the water for $100,000 25, 30 years ago, and it's now worth $1 million, your kids will generally get a stepped up basis. They'll get that million tax free. If you put their name on it and they inherit it basically through your deed, they may not get the stepped up basis. They may owe taxes on that all those gains will now become capital gains. They didn't live in it. So there's a lot of problems there. This isn't necessarily a good option either. The fifth option is a living trust. And with a living trust, you can avoid probate court and still have everything honored. And people question, well, what is a living trust? Well, with a living trust, what you kind of do here, let me get is you take let me liken a living trust to a company. Let's say you own a company. And this company, it probably has bank accounts. It's got buildings it owns. It's got vehicles it owns. This is a car, by the way. This is a chair. This is furniture.
Oh, wow.
If you own this company, it's a corporation, and you die as the president, has the corporation died?
No.
No, a corporation's still alive. So a new president steps in and takes over and manages these assets. A trust is a lot like that. With a trust, you're taking your assets and you're putting it into, instead of a corporation, you're putting it into a trust. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that a little bit here as we go along. So you can think of a trust as kind of like a company. It's actually a contract that you're putting your things in. How does a trust and a will compare? So let's take a look. Let's say we have a couple here. And yeah, I know. This is where you realize why I went into engineering and not art,
Well,
Seriously, giving you art lessons for Christmas. That's happening.
Yeah, we have a couple.
My artistic abilities are kind of on par with you. I
Well,
definitely inherited your skill, not mom's.
it's even more challenging when you're doing it on a little iPad,
That's excuses.
Yeah, so this couple, they own houses and they own bank accounts and they have a car. I mean, I'm not getting any better, is it? They've got furniture.
It's like,
and
I don't even know what you're drawing.
and they both own it jointly. Well, this is a house. There's the door. There's the window.
well, I got the house, Dad.
There's the
What
chimney.
what is under the house? Like,
Under
what's
the house
that?
is a car. This is a car.
Oh,
Here are the
my.
wheels. Here's the door.
It's like the Jetsons, maybe.
It's a Jetsons car, yeah.
I don't even know.
That's
That's
where I
a hot
learned to
mess.
draw on the jet, anyway. And they both own these properties. Now, let's just say that one day the Mister dies. Well, the Mrs. still owns these properties. It's still generally, when one person dies, it passes to the other person without a lot of fuss and muss. The problem is when the second person dies, now we have all of this stuff and there's nobody alive to own it. And in the United States, dead people can't own things. Although I do understand that if you are you're in Chicago and you die and later that year you vote, you can still own things to December 30. It's terrible.
Hey, don't make fun of my hometown over there.
Okay. So what they do is they have a will that says to the probate court, here's who gets this stuff when you're gone. And probate, depending who you look up, but typically cost like I just looked it up a couple of people recently. They're saying 2 to 8% of the estate, and it takes 1 to 2 years to complete, and then and then it goes to your kids and who you want the money to go to. This is using state law to pass on your stuff. You're really going down to the courthouse and passing it on that way. Now, alternatively, you can say, well, I have the same couple and what they do is they create a living trust.
What's wrong with her feet?
What's wrong with her hot mess of a hairdo?
I know.
Well,
Where does
that's
her
not her,
hair-
this is her dress here. She's got a dress on.
Oh no, her dress is actually. Oh no, you're making it worse.
Okay. They create a living trust. And what you do is you go down and you take your deed to your house and you change it from your name to the name of the trust. You put your bank accounts in the trust. Now, a lot of people say, well, am I giving up control? Well, no. And I often like it to, for instance, somewhere in our audience, I know we have some couples where, unlike my wife, their wife changed her name when she got married.
Wow.
She used to be Mary
Wow.
Smith and she married Bill Jones, and she went down to the bank after she got married and they said, congratulations, Mary. Bill, what a great catch. But she says, yeah, but my name changed. And they said, no problem. We'll retitle your account to your married name. So when her next time her statement came, it said, instead of saying Mary Smith, it said Mary Jones. Same account number, same social security number. When you put an asset in the trust, like a stock account, a non-IRA stock account, or your checking account, all they're going to do is change it instead of your name, joint tenants with rights of survivorship. It'll say, the Mary and Bill Smith Revocable Living Trust dated October 10th. So you put your furniture in there. You might put your cars in there, and you two are in charge of the trust. Who can sign the checkbook? Well, only you. Who can buy and sell property? Only you. If one of you dies, well, now the other person's still in charge of the trust. But when the second person dies, has the trust died?
No.
No, trust is still alive. And so some new trustees, some new owners, just like the new owner of a company, probably your children, they step in and they take control of the trust. You can have more than one be in charge together, or you can say, this one's in charge. If they can't do it, the next one does it. Second marriage, you can have one from each side of the family, all kinds of ways you can do it. But a new trustee or a new president, if you will, steps in. But here's what changed. While you were alive, this trust was revocable, right? You could change it any way you wanted. But when you die, the trust becomes irrevocable, and your trustees, your kids or whoever you choose, or you can get a professional trustee, they step in and they have to do exactly what you wrote down in the trust. They can't change it. So, but because you're using this trust, you're basically setting up a contract between you and your kids while you're gone. In fact, a living trust goes back to a thing called the Magna Carta. If you know what year it was signed, type it in. If you know what year the Magna Carta was signed, Amy, holler out if someone gets it right.
Alrighty, I will.
The Magna Carta was where basically the noblemen went to war with the King of England, and they signed the Magna Carta, and it eliminated absolute power.
Marlene said 1066. Paul said 1625. John said 1620. Brent said 1452.
No, it's 1215. Gosh,
All right.
1066 was the Battle of Hastings, and I have no idea where those other dates were. But in 1215, the king lost the battle, and it eliminated absolute power of the king, and it set up. It said that the noblemen could enter into agreements with each other that the king could not overrule, and it set up contract law. And a living trust is really just a contract between you and your kids, what to do with your stuff while you're gone, when you're gone. And because we're using this 800-year-old parallel legal system, the king, that is the state, doesn't get involved, and we're able to pass it on, you know, with usually a lot less fuss muss, everything done right. So this is my simplistic view as to what the difference between a living trust is. Now, I'm going to tell a quick story. I'm going to show you something I've never shown on the web before. I've only shown it occasionally in classes. And I'm going to tell you a story. It goes back about 17, 18 years. When I first started doing this and teaching classes and all, I talked about wills and trusts because the financial and the legal are really tied together. And I gave a presentation, and about a couple of weeks later, one of the people in the class came in to see me, and they said, David, I heard your thing on wills and trust, and I called up my attorney, and you know, this gentleman had about $3 million, and they called up their attorney and they said, do I need you set up a will for me, do I need a trust? And the attorney said, man, he said, and this is literally what he told me, he said, yeah, we talked for about half an hour, most of it 20 minutes, 25 minutes about baseball. And then he says, Bill, the most they can charge you at the courthouse for probate is $3,000. You've got 3 million. What are you worried about? You don't need a trust. And he hung up. And then a week later, he gets a bill for $250 for the half-hour consultation. So I, you know, the engineer in me says, let's get data. So I go down to the courthouse. If you die with a will, everything about you at the courthouse is there. A copy of your will, an inventory of your assets, every check that goes into your account, every check your estate writes, it's all in the public domain. And I pulled one down. This is for a lady who died in December of 1999. You could go look up her account if you want. I could show her name, but I'm not going to.
I see this conversation happening in the chat as well. An important difference between a will and a trust is that a will going through probate is public and you do have access to these records, but a trust is not public.
Right. A trust is private. You're handling it by a contract. The trustee is still held to the same fiduciary responsibility, but it is not closely overseen by the courts like a will would be. But usually if you got someone you trust. But anyway, so this person had about $470,000 in their probatable estate. And the court charges you 0.4% of your estate. So 4 times 5 is about $2,000. So her $2,000 was owed the court. And at the time Bill met with the attorney, that maxed out at $3,000. It's now $6,000. So yeah, today the court itself can only charge you $6,000 for probate. But remember, all the other costs are in here. And so I took a digital camera, I took some pictures. She died in
Camera.
yeah, this was even before we had iPhones. This was like, so she died in December. 3 months later, they put the ad in the Star News for $103. Just, that was the one that said, so and so is dead. I'm the executor. If they owed you money, come see me. And you got to wait, I think, 90 days after that ad, if you're going through probate. The first CPA bill, $100. Another CPA bill, $300. Now, 8 months later, in August of that year, well, about 8 or 9 months later, the first attorney bill. Ooh, boy, it hid. Boy, just some of the stuff got shown here. Let me do it this way. The first attorney bill for I may not want to show all this because I didn't get to hide it. The first attorney bill for $25,000, appraisals for $8,000. 9 months, 1 year and 2 weeks later, the final attorney bill, which included the second attorney bill came in for $24,000. And then the final attorney bill for $13,000. This lady ended up with about $60,000 in attorney bills. And I would show the whole thing, but the names which I had blotted out for some reason when I brought it into this iPad, it turned there, and I don't want to. It turns out that the attorney that I happened to pull down off the shelf was the same one that told Bill, I don't know what you're worried about. The most I can charge you at the courthouse is $3,000. Where in fact he charged this lady $60,000. He didn't mention that. So that's another one. This is a second one I pulled down. This person used First Citizens Bank as their trustee, and their fee to First Citizens Bank, you see $3,276 monthly estate fee. Next month, fee to First Citizens Bank, $3,276. Next month, fee to First Citizens Bank. You think they're in a hurry to settle this? They're using First Citizens as their trustee. Total bank fees, $25,000. But we haven't paid for the attorney yet. Here's another 1,000, 2,000, 1,000.
That's bonkers. That's seriously crazy.
Another 7,000 or 8,000 in attorney fees. So again, I can't tell you need a trust. It's just worth, if you don't have one, thinking about talking to a qualified attorney to get one. We have attorneys we use. Many of you have used them, but this is kind of what the inside scoop looks like. And I could tell you a lot of stories since then, but this is a piece of it. So I think we're right at, we've already kind of run a little over the hour. We should probably, hopefully that was useful. Hopefully giving you my engineer's perspective on, hey, better to settle your stuff by a contract between you and your kids that's private than dragging yourself through the state courts. It can have some advantages for the right people. So make sure you find an attorney who can help you decide that. Make sure you get an attorney that specializes in wills and trusts. If you go to them and they say, yeah, we do closings and divorces and traffic court. Oh yeah, I can do your will too. You got to be more wary. You want to I got a whole bunch of stories there. So Sam, let's get on with our drawing, and unless there's any key questions or anything that
I do want to say there was a lot of questions, so I put a link to your calendar, and I also put the number to the office if somebody wants to have a phone call with you or Sam. They can book it with you guys, and I know that you guys can point them in the right direction. So just want to throw that out there.
And as always, if you go to Carolina 15, Carolina 15, it'll take you to a website. You can book a 15-minute phone call with us. If you're not a client, if you're on this as a guest today and you have a question, feel free to call in. No, no cost or obligation. So.
And I will say that if you have no estate planning documents, I will want to stress the importance of getting some kind of documents in place. Because all the time, and I'm sure that there's somebody on this call who's sitting here who does not have a will or a trust or a power of attorney or a living will in place. And I definitely want to stress the critical importance of having even the most basic documents in place.
I had Zoom meetings with 2 new people this week. Neither one had it. That's why when someone's a client, we never let them get away without. We nag them until they get that done, and we can help bring the resources, people they can trust to do it too. So.
All right. So I know I usually give you my whole spiel about the wine drawing, but my filters. So our winner today of 2 bottles of wine from Fermental Bottle Shop, delivered directly to your door. And to enter, all they had to do was to reply that they were going to this Facebook event, or reply to our emails that we send out throughout the week, or invite a friend and let us know that you're doing so. Our winner this week is Ann Z. And I believe that she did enter twice, both saying that she would go and inviting a friend. So she had 2 entries.
Well, thank you, Ann.
And she did the
Congratulations.
Facebook hours. I think she did everything that you could do. So
She had multiple entries in this week. So congratulations, Ann. You are our wine winner this week.
And thank you, everybody. It's great to see we have a following that after 60 weeks, we're going even stronger than ever, and we'll just keep going. And as always, send us suggestions you might have for the next happy half hour or one in the future. So
people love you guys. You guys are great. You present the information in a way we can understand. I want to say thank you.
That's our strength, make complicated things simple.
We appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Cheers. I didn't finish it. You know.
Oh, well, cheers, everybody. We will see you next
Cheers.
week.